Module 5, the eviction process flowchart. This is taken straight from the Civil Law Help Center's website. And they just give a really great flowchart. So I'm just going to kind of go over the steps with you a little bit here. So step 1, this is for non-payment of rent. The tenant is served with a 7-day notice to pay rent or quit. If they pay, they get to stay. If they quit, they moved out, no eviction needed. So one of two things can happen. The tenant vacates, like I said, no evictions needed. If the tenant fails to vacate or doesn't pay the 7-day pay or doesn't pay the rent within the 7-day pay or quit period, then you have to move on to the next step, which is the where you file a complaint with the Justice Court after the 7-day pay or quit expires. Now, this is when it breaks down into two options. Maybe the tenant did file an answer with the Justice Court within that 7-day period, 7 judicial days. And as of the 25th of July of 2020, Las Vegas Justice Courts are now closed on Fridays, so keep that in mind. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for these notices do not count, and neither do holidays. So Martin Luther King Day, for example, that falls on a Monday, that day does not count. If the courthouse is open, that day counts. That's the best way to know, well, does this day count or does it not count? Just look at the Justice Court website and see if that day they're open or not. If they are, the day counts. If they did file an answer, then that means that a hearing will be held and the judge will make a decision then. If they did not file an answer with the court, then the eviction order will automatically be granted and the order will be sent to the constable. So let's go here. Let's say they did file an answer, a hearing is held, the judge makes a decision. If the eviction is granted, then the order will be sent to the constable, which kind of goes back up to this step here. If the eviction is denied, then the landlord can figure out what went wrong. Maybe the judge will tell the landlord what they did wrong, and you can try and do it again. If the eviction, once it goes to the constable's office, so let's say it's granted, the eviction's granted and the order gets sent to the constable, then you go to the constable's office and you pay them to post a 24-hour notice. The constable will post the eviction order, which is a 24-hour notice, on the tenant's door. Since Las Vegas Justice Court is not open on Fridays any longer, then, you know, the constable is not going to serve a 24-hour notice on Friday because it'll be past 24 hours come Monday. Once the order is posted on the tenant's door, the tenant has one last option, and that is that they can file a motion to stay or vacate the eviction. So what this means is if they do file a motion to stay, then the judge will look at their motion and they'll either they can grant them anywhere from 0 days to 10 days. I've never, in my year and a half of almost 2 years of doing evictions, I've never seen a judge grant 10 days as a motion to stay. Depending on the circumstances, it's usually 2 to 3 days. So keep that in mind as well. This is like their last saving grace right here, is to file a motion to stay. The last step is after maybe the tenant did file a motion to stay and it's granted for a few days, you don't have to repay the constable. The constable will call you and they will meet you at the property, and that's when you go and change the locks. For the other eviction notices, so that includes the lease violation, nuisance, tenancy at will, or no cause, the tenant, for example, the lease violation, they fix it within the time period, then there's going to be no eviction needed. If the tenant fails to cure for the reason of the eviction, which really are any of these, then you serve an unlawful detainer. This is what the unlawful detainer is for. You're telling them that they're there unlawfully. If they fail to vacate within that 5-day period of judicial day period of the 5-day unlawful detainer, and that That's the only time when a tenant can file an answer. So if you give a 3-day nuisance, they can't go to the court and try and file an answer. They have to wait to receive the 5-day unlawful detainer. Once you give the 5-day unlawful detainer and that expires, then the landlord can go and file a complaint with the Las Vegas Justice Court after that period expires. Again, 2 options can happen. The tenant can file an answer with the Justice Court, and then a hearing will be scheduled. It's usually scheduled a week after you do the summary eviction filing, which is you file the complaint with the Justice Court. If they didn't file an answer, then the courts will automatically grant the eviction. It gets sent to the constable. You pay the constable to do the lockout. Constable comes 24 hours later and removes the tenants. Again, same thing. They can file a motion to stay. Again, 2 to 3 days. I've never seen 10 days. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but that's the max amount of time that a judge can grant is 10 days. If they did file an answer with the court and you go to the hearing and it's denied, then you either have to start over again, maybe give a different notice, or you can try doing the formal eviction process. And if you do choose to go down the formal route, then you have to hire an attorney to do so. If you do have a hearing and the eviction's granted, then all the steps are as normal. You go to the constable, pay them to do the lockout, and then the constable comes 24 to 36 hours after the order is given, after they post it on the door, and they have to be out within that time. And if they're not, then the constable physically removes them from the property. And that's the end of Module 5.